Oh,
So,
God, they have like
I'll
mental
pray
health.
for toddlers.
Don't have mental health. That's when people are like, oh, she's 3 going on 13. No, she's fucking not.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Menage-A-Pod, the hysterical comedy podcast about sex, dating, relationships, and whatever else we feel like talking about. I'm your co-host TJ. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, friend, and podcast life partner, Jenna. What's up?
Hello, my dear. How are you today?
I'm so good. Beyond good. Great even. How about yourself?
Really?
Yes.
That is fantastic. I am lovely. Not gonna lie, I might be just like a tad bit tipsy. Can you tell?
I totally can.
No, you cannot.
I'm here.
I'm a professional.
You are.
No, you can't. You didn't know.
I didn't.
I had lunch with Jackie. Hi, Jackie. A friend of mine, and lunch turned into DJ and Joe saying, "Hey." Meanwhile, by the way, I'm like in the middle of like being like, I have to run some errands. I've got all this stuff I have to do today. And then it's like, nope, let's go get lunch. And then it's okay, lunch is done. And then DJ and Joe were like, you guys should come and meet us at the park. We're just like having some cocktails in the sun, having a little picnic. And I was like, that sounds nice. So we go there, and then I look at my phone and I'm like, I gotta get it together, Jenna. Get it together. So I've been chugging water for the last hour-ish. And I feel like I'm feeling pretty good. It's going to be a good episode. I'm excited about it.
I'm proud of you. Good work. We're leaning into the professionalism today, and that's, I think, key for this episode.
Honestly, my liver is quite the professional, and it's insulted that you insinuated that it wasn't.
I would never make such a broad insinuation. If there's one thing I know about you, it's that your liver is quite capable. Quite capable.
I'm telling you, it's a rock star. Unlike the rest of me, it's pretty much a rock star. So I'm ready.
Don't sell yourself short. I'm going to say the rest of you's a rock star. Jenna, 2020 Sasha Fierce, Jenna, rock star.
That's so kind of you. Thank you for saying that. I mean, she's kind of cool. I like her. I dig her. I like to hang with her. You know.
Yeah, I won't put her in the trash quite yet.
Yeah, no. She seems pretty good so far. I mean, it's only halfway. We're not even, are we halfway? I guess we are.
We are. It's almost August. It's literally almost August.
Yeah, so I guess we are. I don't know. I'll take her for now. How are you?
I'm good. I was just going to ask you what's been going on with you lately.
Nothing. I have nothing to tell you. I have no exciting stories because this last week at work has been insane. So all I've been doing is working. Which is not nearly as much fun.
It's certainly not as much fun as I think I've been having.
No, but you know what? I will say this. I went to hi Derek. I don't know if he still listens, but we talk about our friend Derek a lot on the show. And he's a really incredible artist. And he and 4 other friends opened an art gallery out in a suburb that I should remember. Possibly Highland Park. Yeah. Yep. You know how I am with suburbs. And we went the other night for the opening, and it was amazing. It was awesome. And
what's it called?
It's called Gallery 5.
There you go.
Yep. And it was great. We had a really nice time. I've actually never, you know how I don't do suburbs, so like I've never been out there. There was in a really cute little like downtown shopping area. There's some really solid shops there, like a Free People, a Blue Mercury. Like it was nice.
You've been to Ravinia, which is just right over there.
I have.
So
is it?
Enough.
Oh,
yeah.
See,
same town.
All turned around. Oh, that makes more sense then. Yeah. So it was awesome. It was a great turnout. It was very busy. So I'm really proud of him. So I'm excited to kind of see what this next
That's awesome.
part of his life looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have been kind of watching that too. And I know anybody who might follow me personally on social media may have seen me share some of Derek's art before. And one thing that's kind of cool is, I'm sure you know, Jenna, now he's doing prints of his work as well. Yes. So you could go to their website, which is, I believe, gallery5.art, and check out his prints and see the other artists that he works with. I would definitely recommend doing that because they're all super talented. I'm a little disappointed. I wanted to go, but last minute I was like, I don't think I have the will to live, so I didn't make it. But Derek, congratulations. Yeah, I didn't have it in me. My eyes fucked up. It's all about the eye.
I get it. I get
When you
it.
have no depth perception, you can't drive an hour to Highland Park.
That's fair. I didn't drive an hour to Highland Park because I made DJ and Joe drive. So it was fine. I just
Fair.
sat in the back seat, had some Prosecco with Joe, and DJ basically chauffeured us around all night. It was great. I bought some artwork. I'm excited. It was a fun night.
Nice.
It was good to see him. I was very proud of him. So that was it. That's all I really did this week. It wasn't exciting at all.
Well, on a more like, since this is a dating podcast, and I know we've talked a little bit about me going kind of in and out of the dating world lately, and I just wanted to tell you, Jen, I'm super stoked. You know why?
Why now?
Because I've had like a little run of good dates lately, and things are kind of like really good in my dating life right now, just kind of in general. Been going to like a lot of fun restaurants, just a lot of funny stories, great chemistry, and potentially a pretty cool person.
That's exciting.
Yeah, and as you might have expected, Instagram played a large role in this situation.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I know how you are. I know how your DMs get.
Yeah, and it only like mildly involved a dating app, and in a kind of roundabout way. It's an interesting situation, but I'm looking forward to see where it goes. Right now, it's just kind of like having fun, enjoying each other's company and going out and doing whatever. Beyond that, I'm down 10 pounds like the last week and a half.
Well, I feel like well, let me back up. I am very proud of you.
Thank you.
Because that's exciting. I'm going to piggyback that with the comment of it's really not fair because men lose weight so much faster than women.
Sure.
Testosterone.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from you losing 10 pounds. But I would just like to say I'm jealous because 10 pounds is a solid amount of weight.
Yeah, I weighed 211 and I got to 199.9. It's the first time I've been under 200 since like a year ago in October.
That's great. That's exciting.
Yeah, so I feel pretty good about that. I'm trying to get tight, Still summer, got to get that summer. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, but is it really a summer bod? Because I feel like summer was canceled this year with COVID. So it's sort of like, I see where you're going with this, but I feel like you're putting in a lot of effort for a month. Because it's August.
That is true, but I also did want to tell you. So I posted. This is not on the outline, but I posted an Instagram story yesterday, and I know you saw it. And I'm really struggling to not get on top of this mic. I know I got to stay away from it. You ever see someone naked for the first time and think, "Damn, I got to go to the gym and eat a salad," asking for a friend? That got the best response of any story poll I've ever done. We got 57 votes for yes and 16 votes for no. So there's a lot of people who are seeing somebody naked for the first time and immediately are just like, ugh, I need to reassess my life.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's pretty standard, at least for me.
I mean, I've never normally by the time I'm out and dating, I've already lost the weight I want to lose and I'm getting back at it.
You've never dated above your level and thought, damn.
Oh, yeah.
Do better. Of course, everyone has, I think, at some point or another. I know I have.
Yeah, sometimes you see a body and it's just like a reality check and you're like, oh man, bodies can look like that. I got to get after it. Holy shit.
I'm telling you, I know. Except I will say that it was so much easier to be in shape when I was married. I was in the best shape of my life when I was married. And it wasn't necessarily because of him. It was more, although he was pretty motivating because he had a really solid body. But what it was that there's somebody there to get you out of the bed in the morning. So when my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. and I'm alone, I'm like, fuck this, I'll go later. And then I don't go later. But when there's another person there to be like, okay, no, you've got to get out of bed. We're absolutely going. Then I think that helps a little bit. It's also more fun to kind of, I don't know, do something with another person. It just feels a little bit more motivating than doing it on your own. But yeah, so I can see how that happens. I think the best shape I was ever in was when I was married, which is funny because they always say it's the opposite. You get into a relationship and you gain weight and you kind of let yourself go. We were the opposite, both of us, because he was not that great he had a good body, but he had a great body by the time we divorced because I got him back into the gym, all that good stuff. So, but that was a selfish thing.
You fixed him up for his next one.
I set him off back out into the wild. Fuck you, future new wife.
Oh yeah, Jenna. So I forgot to mention something cool that happened a few months back. I know I told you about it, but we never told the listeners that I meant to talk about it on air. You know how much I love meeting creative people, and it's sort of my like primary reason for doing the podcast is just kind of like do things with other people and sort of have fun like that.
Oh,
Well,
it's not me.
it's you too, but you can only take me so far. But there's another Chicago content creator named Eric McCloskey. He actually is in a couple bands, one called The Knits and one called Bertram, I think it's pronounced. He's really good friends with the guys from the Unemployables. I think he went to high school with Corey and Zacho, so he's from like the Toledo area. And his thing, like the Knits, they do these like jingles and commercial songs and whatever. And he reached out that he had done like a jingle for Menage-A-Pod. So I wanted to show it, play it. And I was trying to think of like a place in the episode where maybe we could use it for like a transition into like a segment, or maybe if we do like a recurring game or something that like leads into the game or something. Who knows? But I definitely wanted to play it on air and give him a shout out and tell him thanks so much. So this is, for the first time ever in public, the Menage-A-Pod jingle from Eric McCluskey of the Knits. Be prepared.
We're talking sex, dating, relationships. Yeah, about that last one. It's Menage-A-Pod.
Catchy. I love it.
Very, very catchy.
It's just like light and silly and goofy, and I like it. And that's sort of his thing. So give him a follow. It's The Knits Music on Instagram and also at BAERTRUM. You can find him in either of those places. Give him a follow. I think that's really all I have today. How about you? Anything else?
No, that's it. My life has been super boring. Okay, so I don't really know how we transition talking about how great TJ is to this ad, but let's talk about, let's pretend I had a really clever segue here into our ad. Ready?
Sure.
Okay, great. Hey guys, we'd really love for you to visit teespring.com/stores/Menage podcast to pick up a piece of our official merch featuring our bubble logo. The women's V-neck for $25.99 and the unisex comfort tee for $24.99 are the best sellers. We also have hoodies, stickers, and other official Menage-A-Pod merchandise. So check out that teespring.com/stores/Menage podcast. This is the best way to support the podcast and to help us keep bringing you fun and relatable content.
Yes. And these are some of the other ways you can also support the podcast, which we would equally appreciate. Remember to write reviews and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. The last new review we got was like 3 weeks ago. We're due for some reviews. So if you guys are listening and haven't reviewed us on Apple Podcasts yet, go do that. We love it. Make sure you're sharing the podcast in your Instagram stories and tell a friend. Maybe if you really like us, tell 2 or 3 friends because that helps more than anything. So, all right, Jen, I think now is as good a time as any to introduce the guests. You ready?
I'm ready. And I'm really excited. Like,
Me
really,
too.
really excited.
Me too. It's been a while. I know that's kind of my thing for a long time is I would always lean really hard into how absolutely excited I was to have a guest on. But today,
I know, but I never say it.
You don't, so it means more.
It means nothing when it comes from you, but when it comes from me, like I'm pretty stoked. Yeah.
All right, I'm offended. But either way, today we are both so happy to be joined by Sterling and Sarah Buckley of the Not the Worst Marriage podcast. Their podcast gives a comedic view of marriage and parenting struggles with a little family advice and sex tips. Sterling and Sarah are high school sweethearts turned teen parents, and after 17 years and 3 kids together, they bring you a show that may or may not teach you anything other than that marriage is hard. And they're very passionate about marriage and firmly believe that any marriage can be fixed. So before we go any further, Sarah and Sterling, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And I feel like that was like a great compliment.
Thank you. Here's the thing. Like, I feel like I've been following you guys forever, and I've never... Like, I want to be best friends with you guys, but
are we not best friends already?
Well, you live so far away. But
right.
Plus, you guys are both substantially cooler than she is. There's
like
that.
Substantially cooler. We have had a couple conversations about lip fillers because I'm in the market. But like, I feel as if like I just want to be like I want to come over and I want to hang out on. Would you guys like go on a lake or something? There's like a body of water. I've seen you in a boat. I'm like, I want to be there, friend.
I can do it. Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna just come out there. I'm gonna just show up at your house and just knock on the door. I hope that's not weird or creepy. Like, I'm here, guys. Surprise.
Sterling got so excited when you just mentioned boat. He like bounced up and down. He's all, yeah. Totally.
I love it. And I'm very excited. I've been asking TJ, I'm like, can we please get them on for like the longest time? So I'm really excited that you guys had the availability to come and chat with us today.
Well, and it's funny that you said that, Jenna, about wanting to be their best friends, because I remember the first time I actually reached out to either one of you guys was I reached out to Sarah because she had showed some images of some skin work that you had, like a spot removal or something that you had done on your face.
I remember that.
My girlfriend at that point was looking into the same sort of treatment, and I reached out and was like, hey, would you mind sending before and after? And you absolutely are like, sure, random Instagram guy who I have no clue. Yeah, here's a before and after for your girlfriend. So appreciate it. That was very sweet of you.
Oh, did I not know who you were?
I mean, we talked a little bit, but that was pretty much, I think, the first real conversation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was going to say, but I knew that you were like another podcaster and followed us, and like I'd pay attention. It wasn't just like a request.
Oh, she came across as a bitch the first time? Yeah, that's probably accurate. that's probably right on key. Right on point.
All right, guys. Well, why don't we jump in a little bit more into who you guys are and kind of your story? So we mentioned in the opener that you guys are high school sweethearts. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I was like a senior in high school, and she was like a freshman. So I was like feeling out of high school.
It kind of started, our middle school sweethearts a thing. If one of you was in middle school, how does that work?
So
wait, how old were you, Sarah? What happened?
Always been a little iffy on the exact title. We met, officially met the first time I was 12.
Yeah, I was 15.
And then he was actually friends with my sister and actually asked her out.
Yeah, I asked her sister to be my girlfriend, and it got turned down.
So I'm the sloppy second.
That was like
sometimes
in 7th grade.
That's romantic.
And then like 2 years later, I met Sarah, and I was like, "Holy shit, she's a hotter sister."
It's kind of weird to be like sloppy seconds in 8th grade. That was kind of weird, but
fair.
I mean, it worked out. So I was met him when I was 12, and then when I was 13, I was all, oh yeah, I'm gonna marry him.
Yeah, we were in a theater program together.
So weird.
Okay.
Fucking weirdo. Who says that?
You guys so weird. God, you guys are random.
That's really cute.
Yeah, it's also a little bit weird, but it's okay. It worked out.
Let's phrase. You thought this, like you wrote this shit in your notebook the whole time, not me. I didn't have
so
this.
I don't want to hear that shit. He's like, oh, I love you more. I do this, blah blah blah. I'm like, no, bitch.
She's loved me longer. I'll give her that. But
I had one.
She was obsessed with me,
and I wanted to marry you.
Chased me down.
I love this dynamic.
Fast forward, she's obsessed with me, and then she stopped taking her birth control and got pregnant and locked me up for 18 years.
It's a tale as old as time, right there.
Right?
The old soap.
That was her 18-year plan. Just get knocked up by me.
It worked.
I kid. I call that. That's really my 18-year plan. I knocked her up because I wanted to keep her around.
True. People think like I trapped him with the pregnancy, and that is so not true.
No, yeah, he knew what he was doing. It was strategic for sure.
Yeah, I was like, I want to go to college. I want to have an education, and he was like, I want a family.
Like,
so
you know what ruins a college?
So we compromised and had a family.
Having a kid.
So you said you met when you were 12 and 15. How long have you guys been together now?
We actually just celebrated our 18-year
like dating anniversary. So we were 15 and 18 when we like started actually dating.
Last month was our 18-year like date anniversary, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's definitely a long run. And I have to say, maybe this makes me a horrible person, but hearing about you guys being with the same person for 18 years just makes me think of the running total of the amount of people that I've dated in 18 years. Does not feel good.
It's fine. I married the guy I lost my virginity to. So,
wow.
It's
I feel like I have so much to say about that. How did that work? I mean, you don't know. I guess you don't know any different.
When a man and a woman fall in love.
No. I'm pretty sure I know the logistics of it, but like, how do you, gosh, wow. I mean, Sterling, no offense, you could really suck in bed and she'd be like, you're the best thing ever. She wouldn't know.
Exactly.
That's exactly why you did it.
That would be, they're the best and the worst.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's how you look at the world, I guess, right?
You literally are the worst person I've ever slept with. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Oh, that's incredible. So I have to ask you guys, what was the impetus behind starting your podcast? How did you guys come to the decision to do that?
So we started our podcast a year ago. It took us a year to start it. So about 3 years ago,
okay,
we noticed we had been through a bunch of shit and had been through infidelity. And there was our closest friends knew somewhat about our situation. And we were able to obviously make it through. And then we noticed that a lot of people started to reach out to us for advice, for just kind of everything. It just started to come at us from everywhere. And so that's sort of what got the ball rolling, is well, what if we just did a podcast? But then we're nah, we don't really know shit about anything.
Yeah. And
it doesn't mean anything. You can still start a podcast.
Yeah, we don't know anything either. We give advice all day, every day. We
have found that actually knowledge is not something you need for a podcast.
No, absolutely. Absolutely not. And one thing too is that our banter back and forth can get really comedic even when we're just alone. And that's something that we thought that we can kind of be honest. We can be, kind of open about shit and kind of take topics and kind of bring them down to the normal level and openly talk about them without having to
when 50% of the hosts are comedians, it usually works out that way, that it's a pretty funny show.
Yeah. And I'm a boring fuck. So it balances each other out.
Right.
Well, I have to say, over the last 2 days, I did a Not the Worst Marriage deep dive, and I think I listened to 10 or 11 different episodes because I hadn't listened to it in a few months.
Oh, God.
And now I swear, I just was cleaning my house yesterday and I let it run almost all day long. So I feel like I'm hearing your guys' voice. I don't know if you're here right now doing this with us, or if I'm just it's in my brain and I'll be hearing it on loop for the next couple of days. That's the kind of impression that you guys made.
Tonight, you're going to dream about our voices. Does that ever happen to you?
I frequently go to sleep to our own voice. I listen to our podcast to go to bed.
I actually believe that.
Yeah, it lulls him to sleep.
Is it only your track? Do you just cut
it totally is. I cut Jen on so hard.
Right.
Oh my God.
You guys get it.
Have you listened to this podcast? He's all about
Stop yourself. Stop yourself. You shut up.
You got to be your own hype man.
You got a great voice for radio, man. Uh-huh. And your face is
for radio too.
Yeah. Me too.
All right, guys. Well, I in my journey down the rabbit hole yesterday, listening to episodes, there were a couple quotes you guys said, or kind of sort of tenets behind your ideology around how you do your relationship, and I wanted to sort of ask you about some of them. So one of the things that you guys say a lot is you say that for a marriage to remain healthy, your spouse should come before your kids, and that your marriage will be the foundation your children build their future relationships on. Yeah. I know for a lot of people, that's not how they do it. They definitely are. That you'll always hear people say, "Oh, I put my husband or I put my kids first. It's kids." Why do you think that works for you, and why do you think that's the right thing to do?
Because your kids fucking leave.
Yeah, it's true.
And who are you left with?
Oh yeah. Well, who are you married to? Are you married to your kids, or are you married to your spouse? And ultimately, in a marriage, your focus should be your spouse. Should be the number one. Now we don't take that to the extremes, if she's hanging off a cliff and I got to let go of one of them, I'm letting go to her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm letting go of you.
Oh yeah.
But priority-wise, when we have to make each other the priority, and when that happens, sometimes that means step away from the kids so you can sit back and focus on each other if there's an issue, because they're going to see how you resolve problems. They're going to see how you have problems. They're going to see you fight. They're going to see you make up.
Yeah.
Your kids witness this shit. They're
paying attention.
They're front row to this, to your shit show of your marriage. So you better, focus on each other and give them the best example.
Well, and I feel like that makes it sound like we do less parenting. And I wish that were the case, but it's not true.
No. We still do a lot of it.
Yeah. But basically it's that, if, one example we usually use in regards to this is that if you, for instance, this is a common situation, mom wants the baby in the bed with them, and it just makes things easier and it's just nicer, and maybe you're still nursing or maybe you're not, or it's a comfort thing, whatever. But that usually affects your sex life. And that would be a perfect case in which you got to fucking figure it out. Get that kid out of your bed, because it's not fair to your spouse to say oh, well, the baby, and just constantly, neglect your spouse's needs. And it's really easy for that to be the default, especially when, you're new parents, you're young, you haven't been married long. I mean, you're, juggling everything all at the same time. And I think if you don't put extra emphasis on your relationship, especially in those early years, you kind of just shoot yourself in the foot, because shit piles on and people get resentful, and everyone's tired and this, and you just kind of create a big snowball effect that, we think can be diminished just by actively making sure that your spouse, stays your number one.
Right. And is the guy's job is not to sit back and just let your wife do all the fucking take care of the baby and cook and do it and clean. You have to get in there and carry your own load. So like you guys are you're a team. So that at the end of the day, like
if she's too tired for sex at the end of the day because she's been taking care of the whole fucking house and your stupid kids, like you better, I don't know, do some dishes or do bedtime or some shit.
Yeah. So we really look at like raising kids, being a family is like, this is teamwork. We're mom and dad we're the coaches, kids are the players, but we're living under one roof.
Yeah. Coming up on the playoffs here. College is around the corner. We almost made it.
There you go. And go ahead, Jenna.
I feel like that's, it's a really healthy way to look at that. And from someone who obviously does not have children, but somebody who has been in therapy and can trace back a bunch of shit from my childhood that I blame on my parents, right? Like, and the way that I deal with relationships, what you had said earlier is very, very true. It's like you're forming these little sponges of little human brains, right? That like are picking up everything that you're doing and how you're relating and how you guys talk to each other, how you argue, all those things. They're going to see through you and they're going to carry that on to their future relationships. So their future spouses are very lucky because like if you, like me, like growing up in a household, my parents were still together, but they shouldn't be. And they argued all the time and it was just toxic, right? And so I picked up a lot of toxic traits from them. I'm not saying that you guys are perfect individuals. I'm sure you guys have your
we are,
too.
But
of course.
But I think also just even if you're not perfect, like having your kids see that you're trying to be better partners to each other, I think is really important too. So I think you're really onto something there. And I think that's like a very realistic answer that I don't think people kind of follow. Right. Like I don't know a lot of people who do that. Like I look at my sister and they had their first kid and that first year was really hard for them. And I hear that's pretty normal, but they did all the things that you're not supposed to do. Right. Like they stopped going out on dates. She was exhausted. She was home all day with him and he got to go, to work all day. And it was just like a whole shitty situation where like by the end of that first year, they were threatening divorce to each other.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for saying he got to go to work all day.
Yeah, he got to go to work.
It's like a vacation.
It is. Really. It's the first time in your life that work will ever be a vacation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just for the record, I can't wait till my kids are like 23, 24, and they just call us after their first therapy session, blaming a bunch of bullshit on how we raised them.
But like we're woke enough, we're gonna be like, dude, I know we're fucking terrible.
I'm sorry, my bad. And I'm going to say, it was the first time I was doing it. It was the first time I was a parent.
What closure,
my bad.
What closure do you need? What do you need from us? You got it. Do you want us to go to therapy? We'll go to therapy with you.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that obviously your kids are lucky to have parents who are not only as clearly dedicated to them as you guys are, but also so self-aware. So you guys had mentioned earlier when you were talking about your intro that you did have infidelity in your relationship. Mm-hmm. I know that's something that you guys did an episode about. And if I remember correctly, it was your most popular episode. And I remember, Sarah, in particular, your social media kind of getting real hot right around then. A lot of people had stuff to say and comments about things. So I guess my question is, is there something you would tell someone who's trying to decide whether or not to forgive and try to save their relationship? And maybe a little bit about kind of your story and what made you guys decide to keep pushing on.
Well, this is one like that was a big part of why we started the podcast. Was
that particular issue?
We got through infidelity on both sides. It is our most popular episode, and it was a really, really painful thing. And one of the major things we said that we say on our podcast is that every marriage can be saved, but not every marriage should be saved.
Right.
Because we went through infidelity and we came out the other side of it doesn't mean that the person listening right now, they need to stick it out and stay in their marriage.
Right.
Because we always say you have to own your own shit, own your faults, your mistakes, and take responsibility for them, and that you continually have to do that.
And you have to show tangible change.
Yes, and show tangible change.
Yeah, like forgiveness and moving on, and that entire process. One, it's like a death, so you pretty much go through the 5-6 stages of grief.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
And that's the way that you
feels
kind
like
of
fucking 30 stages.
That's kind of what you have to go through. And it takes a really, really long time. There's no way to rush it. And so, anybody who was possibly going through it, I mean, since we've put the podcast out, we've talked to hundreds of couples
yes,
who have dealt with it. And one reason why we really wanted to do, a podcast and an episode about it was because everything that we had seen, it was always just the man that cheated.
Right.
And it was always the poor wife. Oh, you've been hurt. Oh, you need, forgiveness and all of this other stuff. And it's always focused on the offended. And there's absolutely no conversation or healing or empathy towards the offender.
Right. Cheater's just a piece of shit.
Right. They're just a piece of shit. They should have just left. Like, oh, why did they do that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I would never do that. If anyone ever did that, I'd be gone. Everybody fucking says that. Anyone who's ever cheated probably at one point says, I would never cheat on someone. I would leave first. Sure. And it's super easy to say that if you've never gone through it. But, something that we really talk about in the episode is how much healing the cheater has to do. They have to do the exact same amount. Mm-hmm. It just looks different.
Right. And that's because we wanted reconciliation. And, I was the first person that cheated in our marriage. And then Sarah was done. She was absolutely done. And, through our story, I made a significant change in my behavior, the way I reacted towards her. I went through therapy. I was in a 12-step program. So there's a lot of actual things that she could see, that were changes that I was making in my life that led to her and our reconciliation, and then vice versa whenever it happened the other way around. Mm-hmm. So I think that when we talk to people, we encourage that everyone just to really take responsibility for what they can do, take responsibility for, but also to don't take responsibility for the shit that shouldn't be yours. It's not her fault that I cheated, or it's not. So
right.
It's a lot about your own
self-awareness, self-acceptance,
and and responsibility.
You have,
I'm responsible for myself, my actions.
Yes.
And we can get forgiveness and stuff. That's between us in our marriage. And if we choose not to, then we choose not to.
Right.
And we've had a ton of people write us, and they've been really encouraged by this message, and so that we continue to push that.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're going through it and you're not seeing that person, for instance, if they have a drinking problem and they cheated because they went out and they got too drunk, well, that person should probably be in AA and therapy pretty quick if they're going to show you that hey, this isn't me. I don't want to do this. I'm sorry. These are the changes that I'm going to make. And, that's not that exactly what Sterling did, but he did make those changes. And he did them on his own. And, because they were true changes, I was able to see them. And that was a really big game changer as far as deciding to stay. And I think that would be with anybody.
Totally. I read this thing the other day actually about infidelity, and they basically said everyone has 3 relationships in their lifetime, 3 significant relationships. And if you're in a relationship where someone strays, then that actually counts as 2. And you decide to get back together. They're do not think that your relationship will at all be the same. It's going to take on a whole life of its own, and you sort of have to count it as a second relationship. And she said what you said, you mourn it. You mourn the death of what used to be and how things used to be, because now from then on, it's not going to be the same. It can be great again, but it's just different, and then you kind of rebuild and then you move forward. So I thought that was really interesting. And I think that, you guys have been together for so long. You guys were together during those formative years of when people go out and fuck around. Don't even talk to me about college. I was such a whore. That was kind of the idea, right? Was to be able and to go and find out what you like, what you don't like, sow your oats, then settle down. But you guys didn't have that. You were together for so long that I would actually be surprised if someone hadn't strayed at some point, just because being together that long through all of those major formative years and not being curious, I think is a very I feel like it's an unrealistic expectation. So I applaud you guys for being able to love each other enough and be mature enough to want to kind of work through it and do the work that it takes, because it certainly isn't easy, and it doesn't sound easy based on the story you just told. So I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, Sarah was a one dick wonder for 27 years.
For real, I was a one dick wonder till I was 27.
Oh, dear.
R.I.P.
Wow.
That was a death. That was a death in itself.
Yeah.
Oh, and it wasn't worth it.
I had to hang up my trophy.
Well, that's it. Can I ask, like, how did you guys feel afterwards? Like you said, it's not worth it, obviously, and you guys stayed together, but what made you want to stay together after it?
Other people are really bad in bed.
Girl, don't I know it?
We got a good thing going on.
Sure. It wasn't like, it's not like there's like, what are we missing? It was like nothing. Shit.
We don't need to share this. We can keep this right here.
You have never made a woman come before. That's for sure.
And also one big thing is we're best friends. Like, even like through all the pain and everything that we've been through, like Sarah and I are legit.
Yeah,
like,
he's one of my best friends, like, for sure.
Get the fuck out of here. Like, typically, if we want to hang out with anybody else, we're like,
I don't know.
If it takes away from our time, like, we'll probably say no.
Like, we were going to Postmates and watch a movie, but
yeah, like, we're big on just hanging out with each other, and we genuinely like each other as in our marriage. It's
one thing that might surprise people, is that neither of us cheated because we were curious.
Yeah, or that it was like,
or that we didn't want to be together.
Yeah, like we were looking out, or
that we had like relationships with others. That wasn't really part of our story. Both of us strayed because of, deep emotional hurts and pains is basically one way to say it. And I think that probably not worse. That's the other thing. There is no worse.
Yeah.
Everyone is like, do you think it's easier because you both cheated? No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We get that question a lot. Like, no. Is it easier to dig yourself out of a 6-foot hole or a 12-foot hole?
Yeah.
You're right. That's a great analogy.
But I feel like, did you almost think that it was inevitable in a way? Like, because there was probably hurt there from the first one. So then the second one, you kind of think,
No, I wouldn't say so, because like, for personally, the one thing that I came through that was sex addiction is like, I'm a sex addict, and that was kind of like, brought to light through this. And I say that I cheated. I'm a sex addict that cheated. I didn't cheat because I'm a sex addict, so I don't ever put the responsibility on that or use it as a scapegoat,
right?
By any means. But I had to face a lot of like childhood trauma and the way I viewed sex and the way how I dealt with negative emotions was always tied with sex. So then as I got older, that's the way I would act out. So having to deal with that, if I would have dealt with that early on in my life,
can you imagine?
I think we could have had a marriage and I wouldn't have strayed.
Yeah.
And I like, there was a couple of times when I look back where the topic of sex addiction came up and I kind of like brushed it aside. Like it was,
I didn't even think it was real until
right.
you were like, you were like, I'm pretty sure it's real. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, but since dealing with it now, I'd pay anything to go back and like fix myself before all this shit happened.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20, but you definitely both seem to have like incredible self-awareness that is probably very integral in keeping you guys together and happy. And I'm sure for the people out there listening, it's definitely relationship goals. So congratulations to both of you for that.
And we get to call each other out on our shit because we both know it.
That's true.
And I'm assuming you guys did therapy, right? Did you do it?
I did a lot. Sarah did. She hates therapy.
I fucking hate therapy. No thanks.
I'm all about therapy.
Listen,
therapy.
I'm all about therapy too. I just think there is a small percentage of people on this planet that don't benefit from it. Okay, thank you very much.
She sounds like you, TJ.
Oh no,
are you therapy?
We have had 2 therapists tell me I don't need therapy.
No, they did not. They did not say you do not need therapy.
I almost gave a mouth hug to our last therapist. because
guys,
she was an old
people
woman
out there who don't get the reference.
it doesn't matter. She was a 60-year-old woman, and we had gone for like a session together because we were fighting a lot. We're like, all right, well, we got to go to therapy, I guess. And I was pissed that we had to go, so we go. And the therapist asked me something about like why I don't think I need it, and I'm like, I just figure my shit out. I don't bury stuff. I think about it, and then I talk about it, and then that's it. And she's like, no, yeah, well, that's pretty much it. Maybe you don't need therapy.
Well, I mean, there has to be something going right with you guys that if you're not going to therapy together, but you're able to work through your issues of like an 18-year marriage, you have to be doing something right.
We're really stubborn.
You have to be
We're really stubborn.
Well, that's usually we're like, you have to communicate. You have to talk to each other. And
the way
we do talk a lot.
Like I like to talk through like my emotions out loud. Like I like to talk. So my mind's not always made up. So sometimes I like change my mind. I'm like, no, actually, you are right,
it's
or
psychotic.
No, you're wrong.
So
I like to talk through things. She does not like to talk at all. So that's kind of like oil and water with our fighting.
No. It's not that I don't like to talk at all. I am a rational human being, and before I open my goddamn mouth and say shit, I think about the things that I understand the way that I feel before I start talking. Sterling, on the other hand, doesn't think at all and just opens his mouth and says stuff.
And just let the feels come out.
And then, he just lets his feelings come out. But
you're so emo.
Oh, for sure. Totally.
It's great because then Sterling, he'll say stuff and then like a day later, he'll like think about it and then like change his mind. But then he won't tell me.
You're supposed to read my mind. After 18 years, you should know this.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, come on. You guys, you have the bonds you have after 18 years. If you're not reading his mind, you're doing something wrong.
And this is why he needs therapy.
Let me ask you a question though, Sarah, because my ex-husband used to be like that. And it actually used to hurt me a little bit because it was like he would use me as a sounding board for his feelings.
A little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. And where I would talk about it with like my sister or a friend. And so by the time I got back to him, I'd have like a fully formed thought of like how I actually felt. So he didn't have to hear all the negative things I was thinking. And he would just sort of word vomit. And that's totally okay. Cause that was his way of working through it. But
it's not okay. It's terrible.
It hurt a little bit. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, bro, I don't need to hear this. Like, tell a friend. I don't know. It was hard. It was really hard.
Yeah, I'm not your emotional punching bag.
Totally.
Figure your shit out.
Yeah.
Use your big boy words. Tell me how you feel. What do you need from me? Do you need this? You don't know? Motherfucker, I don't know what to tell you then. I'm going to bed.
I'm sorry, Sterling.
This episode's like this is going to be therapy for me. Jeez, this is like.
Oh, no. I went through a lot of therapy. I know how to deal with stuff emotionally inside now.
When you speak, Sterling, it's literally like listening to myself. And Sarah, when you speak, it's like the voice in my head that I need to hear. So thank you both.
I don't need to go to therapy because I am literally people's self-awareness.
Like my internal monologue. Yeah.
They're Jiminy Cricket.
So we talked a little bit about just kind of all you guys have going on, but I mean, I know you guys are super busy between the podcast, raising those great kids, keeping your marriage strong, your careers and all the wonderful content you guys have coming out. How do you kind of prioritize and keep all that going? And why don't you tell us a little bit about like kind of just what you do in your social media persona and your comedy and whatnot?
Yeah. Wait. And also, how old are your kids?
35.
Our kids are in their 40s.
Almost out of that.
Our youngest is 12, and then our daughter is about to be 14, and then our oldest is about to be 16.
Oh, you teens, all teens.
Yeah,
yep. Oh dear, you must be.
Oh, this shit's fucking terrible.
Through it, I would drink every day.
Lots of Yeah, teenagers are way worse than toddlers.
God, they have like
I'll
mental
pray
health.
for toddlers.
Toddlers don't have mental health. That's when people are like, oh, she's 3 going on 13. No, she's fucking not. No, she's not. Just like discipline your toddler. She's psychotic, but she's not like going on 13. You don't know shit until you hit puberty.
I can't imagine.
Parenting wise. Fuck puberty.
It's like living in a haunted house. It's living
living in a psych ward. We have 6 different people in this house. 6 different kids. Yeah,
that doesn't even count our multiple personalities.
Exactly. Like kids are different in the morning versus nighttime, and then our kids will even come back and be like apologize and go, "Hey, mom." Our oldest will be like,
"I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I was really hungry, and I went crazy today."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?"
Sorry, I yelled. I was just hungry. I was like, oh my God. It's like living with a terrorist.
But they
like
genuinely will come and apologize. And it's awesome.
Aww.
Yeah, they feel
bad because they get ready for that when you guys have kids.
I forgot. I think
I won't.
I forgot.
What was the question? Sorry.
Oh, just kind of like, how you, with all you guys that you do, how do you balance all that and stay productive? And why don't you tell us a little bit about, you told us about the podcast, but why don't you tell us a little bit about your kind of Instagram account and Sarah, your comedy and kind of what you guys do there?
Well, I am incredibly talented, so I'm able to just
modest. She's very modest
at the same time. But a couple years ago, so I've been working in social media for about 5 years.
Yeah,
now.
5 or 6 years.
And I've always loved since social media started out, I've jumped on it. Everything to come out. I love this shit. So a couple years ago, after, working in social media for a little bit, I really wanted to build a brand. And I wanted to figure out how to do something that I was really passionate about and that I was really good at. And, I kind of realized in 2018, I was like, well, I think the only thing that I'm naturally really, really good at is being funny. So
you're kind of good at other things too.
Mouth hugs.
Yeah. What a good husband. He's trying to
monetize that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I'm only allowed to monetize one of those things. So I started an Instagram account.
But stifle her creativity there. Go on.
Yeah, I started that account and just started telling jokes, and it grew really, really fast. And I knew that I wanted to do stand up. And so I spent about a year writing and pretty much trying out jokes and shit and where I wanted to position myself like as a comedian by telling jokes online. And then I did stand up.
First time like a year ago?
Yeah,
it was
in March.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did my first stand up for a friend at like an event. And then before I sat down, I got hired for my second show.
That's awesome.
And then from there on, I think Sterling actually got me my third gig.
Yeah, then we were like, hey, let's start like getting in the scene here in Vegas.
Yeah, so
I just went down to a comedy show by myself and then ended up getting her another gig on one. And
then, yeah, you found the producer of one of the shows and he was like, hey, guess what? My wife does stand-up comedy. And I looked at him. I was like, no, I don't. He's like, yeah, you do. You've done it twice. He was like, that means you do stand-up. I was like, oh my God. So I got that show. And then this year I performed at Jimmy Kimmel's on the Strip, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, she was a feature.
That's incredible.
So, yeah. So my fifth or sixth show?
Yeah, I think it was your sixth.
And now, because of Corona,
COVID
comedy's dead. So back to the internet we go.
Womp womp.
Well, it's kind of, it's almost like a built-in advantage though, because with that being where the basis of your comedy foundation is, having a lot of people who are now having to struggle with this new paradigm where you have to lean into online content creation have never done it, but it's something you're already good at and you like. So yeah, it sucks to kind of revert a little bit, but I think that gives you a bit of an advantage.
Yeah. I mean, I have been paying attention to, like regular comics like myself and what they do on social media. And so many of them, I'm like, oh my God, you're a comedian. Nobody knows if you're funny. Like you don't fucking put, like, how are you going to sell tickets to shows? Like you don't tell any jokes outside of, on stage or whatever. But I look at it through the lens of being a social media marketer. And so, now content creation is just like in the back of my mind. I don't think I'm ever not thinking of something.
I fucking hate the word content creation.
It's a very charged word. I know people have very mixed.
I'm like grandpa over here. I just hate fucking social media.
Sterling calls Instagram Facebook half the time.
Most of the time. MySpace.
This is funny, and guys, Jenna's joked around about how I use our social media presence, that I've used it a lot to date, and coincidentally, I've actually used your social media presence to date. So, real quick story. When we all first started kind of becoming connected on Instagram, there was a post you'd either posted from the podcast account or maybe Sarah, your account. And I made some joke and you roasted me back and we kind of went back and forth and I tagged Sterling. So I'll get like 30 followers. And then last October, I go to California and I ended up meeting someone who's one of your guys' biggest fans who just randomly followed me because I commented on some stuff on your Instagram. So the lesson here is that, literally cross country. I was trapped at the airport,
but it's fine.
She picked me up from the airport, literally picked me up from the airport.
That's awesome.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well,
what does she look like?
Well, it didn't work out. What happened?
Okay. Did you get laid by?
Oh,
did you get laid by?
No, hold on. What do you? So what happened after the airport?
Did you get a mouth hug?
It was a very friendly couple days. We still are in contact as friends, and yeah.
Oh my gosh, we got someone to have sex with you. You're so welcome. That's
oh my god.
I feel like you were like a dowry or something.
A dowry. You guys, yeah. I'm sending you like a goat right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
For not having been a whore, I really am a dick whisperer. I can tell you that much.
You are. Yeah. Well, you don't have to be. TJ makes up for all of us. You're fine.
Oh, for being a whore? Is that what you're trying to say there? I appreciate that.
You for explaining it.
All right. Well, why don't we get back on topic and not about me being a man whore?
No judgment here. It's a judgment-free zone.
Oh yeah, we don't judge shit.
No, I'm glad. We say all the time, we're sex positive. There's no such thing as a hoe. Everyone just like, as long as you're being careful and consistent and respectful of people, do literally whatever you want. Who cares, right?
Yeah, really, it's like as long as there's consent, I don't fucking care what you do.
There you go. Exactly. See, I like where your head's at. So in a recent episode, you guys said that maintaining your identity in marriage is important. And I think that's something we can all agree with. And you mentioned how having a personal hobby can be that kind of much needed break from life, work, stress, families, whatever. What are some hobbies that you guys have? And how do you think having those hobbies helps keep you guys engaged by giving you guys that independence?
Drinking a lot individually.
I like to
great
eat.
Hobby.
She eats, I drink.
I feel we're
pre-COVID
between hobbies right now.
Actually, the hobbies episode that we did talking about that is we've both had like things that we've had in the past. I played rugby for a while. Sarah's gotten did a lot into makeup, social media, things like that. Now I think our hobbies are things that we like to do together, but then still like to have like our own. Like for me, I have a couple close friends that I'll go out with. We try to find hobbies to do together as our kids have gotten older.
Right.
So like going out on the boats or going camping, those type of things.
Well, it just feels like we have fewer hours in the day. Like when your kids are little and they don't miss you being gone every other Saturday. Like that's one thing, when before the kids were younger and the time that they demand is so intense. That it was a lot more important for us to have that time away so that you didn't just kind of get lost in the mix of just like wiping asses and getting thrown up on and like people biting your nipples.
Sounds hot.
Yeah, it's really sexy. But now it's like there's so little time that when we do have time, like really, I look at, comedy as like my kind of side thing. It's something that I do, for me because I'm super passionate about it, but
I'm her number one fan. I love doing it with her. So like,
it's so weird.
But I like to go do things on my own. Sarah's not as much of like a do something on her own type of person.
Yeah, Sterling will go to the movies by himself.
I'll go to the movies by myself. Me and my buddy will drive to California. We'll go to the beach, watch ball games. Like those are the type of things that I like to go do. So
I don't like a lot of people.
We keep it kind of like fresh that way as far as like focusing on ourselves, but most of the time we do shit together.
But it is
we do think it is important that everyone have something that you can go like you can break away like for yourself. Sometimes I've gone on hikes by myself. Movies.
I think it's important to maintain your identity because like for me, for instance, we got married when I was 18. We had our third kid by the time I was 21. I stayed home with the kids for 7 years. So that puts me at 25. And then I think I got my
28. You said 7 years.
7 years.
Oh, 7 from 18.
From 18. Yeah.
Can't do math.
And I had only had one part-time job at that point. Literally my entire life was Sterling and the kids. And so the first time that we kind of went through our shit, And I had my very first panic attack ever was because I realized that I wasn't anybody except Mrs. Buckley. Mm-hmm. Like I was in high school and then I was Mrs. Buckley, and that's the only person I've been my entire life. And so the idea of, our marriage ending felt far more devastating than maybe somebody who was 32, 33, who, had a life of their own. And not saying that it's easier, but it was,
sure.
It was earth shattering for me because it was really all I'd ever known. And that I don't think that would have been a problem unless we, almost got divorced. And so that was when I realized, like, okay, I can't, whether we stay together or not, I can't not be still just a person on my own.
Right. Chase your own dreams, your own, the things that you want to do.
An autonomous person.
Right. Exactly.
Sure. I feel
like there's some guilt in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mom guilt's a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it feels far too many people get in relationships and they do lose that sense of self. And I don't remember what TV show it was that had like the boyfriend chameleon, but that's the kind of premise. People, you kind of fake it to find the thing you think you're looking for. And realistically, the thing you need to do is be authentic to yourself. And one of the biggest parts in doing that is maintaining that autonomy and having your independence and being interested in things that exist outside of, in your case, your spouses, mm-hmm. or in my case, outside of a girl or someone that I'm dating more casually. And if you don't have that, it's like, how can you truly be fulfilled with someone else if you're not giving like some level of fulfillment on your own?
Yeah. And it's something that I think forgetting about your own identity is your default. Like when you have a relationship and you have a family and all these other things, it's so easy to get wrapped up in all of the things that, your family needs from you. And that's fine. But it's one of those things that like your own needs aren't going to yell at you until it's too late. So you kind of have to tend to them before it becomes a problem. Otherwise, it's something that if you don't do proactively, it's probably going to happen where you just sort of lose your own identity. And the hobbies thing, really, I feel like we did that whole episode just to talk shit about golf.
That's as good a reason as any to do an episode. I support that message.
And video games.
I actually have a question. I'm going to go all Oprah on you, so I apologize if this is too intrusive. You don't have to answer.
Full circle moment. Do it.
Yeah, we could totally edit it if you're uncomfortable. But you said something which I think is actually really important, where you said you didn't really necessarily have like this, almost like an identity outside of your marriage and your kids. Do you think that's why you stayed? Do you think that played a little bit of a part as to why you stayed? And I only ask this because I'd like to preface it with, I have a lot of people that I've, friends with, family members, people that just stay in things because of that fear of like, holy shit, I've been a mom this entire time. I haven't held down a full-time job. How am I supposed to support myself if this doesn't work out? And then they stay because they don't know what else to do.
Right. I will say it was probably the opposite for me.
Interesting.
I realizing that, I was scared of being alone or whatever kind of pushed me towards that direction. Mm-hmm. I think that made me want to leave more than it made me want to stay.
That's interesting.
Because when I realized that, and it took a while for me to really realize that, but I'll never forget the day that I did, because we were going out and I thought I was having a heart attack, but it was actually a panic attack. And I didn't know the difference because I'd never had one. And that kind of made me realize that like, maybe I do need to be by myself. Like maybe I do need to get away. Like that's not fair to me to not have a personality outside of the people that I take care of. I have talked to women who do that or, they've done that. They get scared that, they aren't going to have, I guess, a certain level of life without their, current family unit intact. Mm-hmm. But for me, that didn't play a part in me staying. I 100% stayed because he had made changes that I needed him to make. It wasn't, it was kind of a non-negotiable thing. It's like, if you don't make this, I have to leave. I can't stay in this.
One of those things is and still is like encouraging you to make sure that you still have your own identity, doing your own thing, and pushing you to, not just be a mom at home. And it's something that I have encouraged our whole relationship, but we made it a priority, a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, and too, it's like when you get married that young, there isn't a smart early 20-year-old person on the planet.
No,
you're just fucking stupid. Yeah. I personally think you're stupid until the day you turn 30. Then it starts looking a little bit better, myself included.
Yeah.
Everybody in their 20s is an idiot. I don't care if you turn 30 tomorrow. You're fucking stupid today.
Yeah.
And so many of our, mistakes that we made early on in our relationship really were just normal 21-year-old mistake. Yeah. Like, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just trying to make it work. I mean, and it worked really well for a long time. I say we didn't have infidelity in our marriage until year 7. And for me,
I
don't know
though, 7-year itch and all that.
The 7-year itch, right?
I know. Wait, I hate that. I'm like, ew. Couldn't it have been a different year?
Right.
So you guys had an episode about relationship killers. I feel like I could name a ton of these myself.
I forgot about this episode too.
No.
Where you guys really dug into some serious relationship killing issues. And we wanted to kind of talk a little bit about a few of them. I mean, we have a couple here, but I'm just going to pick out the ones that I have also gone through. The nice little triggers. Being too different and growing apart.
Sterling and I are vastly different people. There are very few things we have in common.
We're very different. And as we've gotten older, we've kind of
we've gotten more
politically different. we're on far different sides now than we were earlier.
Politically, I'm not an asshole, and Sterling is.
Oh, please! This is
you could just fuck off with that comment.
This is such an issue in my household with my parents.
Well, I'm informed and independent.
Then what am I?
You're uninformed because you don't pay attention.
Uninformed.
You don't even watch
politically.
The news.
You're fucking
read
kidding.
any article.
Answer the question.
You get everything from Twitter.
Answer the question. No, I don't. There are news outlets on Twitter. First of all, you still read the Yahoo homepage.
No, I go. I dive into.
He's on Netscape Navigator.
I'll fucking quote my sources.
Why don't you look it up on Bing later for me?
Oh.
Relationship killers being an asshole about politics.
Yeah,
that's fair. I don't know if that would be a problem for me. I think
we have
especially
over
now.
4 years. I will say we agreed on everything politically until about 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and then I started thinking for myself, and I was all, he's
movement.
wrong. I'll kill you. I will actually kill you. I'll literally kill you. But yeah, no. Sterling and I are very, very different. And I think that that's fine, obviously, but you have to talk to each other. Like, you have to communicate.
Yeah. Right.
Otherwise.
But our other take on this and growing apart is that sometimes is almost like an active choice when people start to grow apart, because you have to keep each other a priority throughout your relationship. So if you are growing apart and you're recognizing that, either you fix it or you just ignore it and you just let it happen.
Yep.
Or if it happens organically and you legitimately just grow apart, maybe that's God's way of saying get the fuck out of there.
But there's no.
But in a marriage, like when we're saying we're committing our life to one another, growing apart for sometimes we think is kind of a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Because you're not putting in the work or the effort either. For even just speaking up about it. If you feel like your partner's growing up about it, bring it up.
Challenge each other. Well, Here's the thing. There's not, when it comes to, and Sterling, maybe you'll agree with this, maybe not, because we're different people, but I don't think in a healthy, long relationship, committed relationship, there isn't a single passive thing.
What do you mean by passive?
There isn't one passive component about us having a successful relationship.
Oh, yeah.
It's all very active.
We're not putting our feet up in the hammocks and just letting it, and
no,
sitting on the beach.
It's not like a Cialis commercial.
Right. Dude.
I mean, it's pretty close to a Cialis commercial once you hit 35, 36, but.
Okay.
Was that a joke about my ED, Sarah?
Sterling doesn't have ED. His penis is working great. But
Thanks for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
You have a great penis. Big fan.
I think that's going to be the opener of the episode right there.
Great. All right, what's the next bullet point?
The next one is opposite sex friendships.
Yeah, and in marriage,
they don't fucking exist. I think people that argue this, I just think are dumb. In my opinion, I'll just be as blunt about it as I can. I think that if you have a close opposite sex friendship while you are married, you're making a stupid fucking mistake.
I tend to agree.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it's possible. We have friends, but I will say we don't have very many single friends just because of where we are, in our life.
Exactly. We have a lot of married friends.
Can't fuck around though,
Yeah, but we've hung out with like our married friends, and we have close couples that as couples we hang out, and then individually we hang out with the same sex of those couples. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't imagine like if Sarah had a really close heterosexual male friend that she hung out with, went to go have drinks with on a Friday night. Not a fucking chance.
I
would
love for someone to sit across from us and try to make their case on this. And I would just destroy them. I'm like, you can't bullshit a bullshit.
Actually, I would like someone to make their case because I like to try to empathize with the other side because there's people who are genuinely friends. Like I know a buddy of mine, him and this girl, they were the closest friends, but they don't hang out like they used to after he got married.
Exactly.
But they were like best friends.
It's not the same. It has to be different.
If I went out to a bar just to have drinks with a close friend of mine,
I don't care if they're a childhood friend. I don't care how long you've known them.
Would you let me go camping with a
not a fucking chance?
Exactly.
Not a fucking
Start asking this question.
Try. I double dog dare you to ask me if you can go camping with another woman.
Yeah,
it's not the same. You have to draw those boundaries, and I think
No, I think you can be friends with the opposite sex. I think it probably changes once you're married. So it's a spectrum, right? Like you guys, I have one of my best friends, Daniel. Obviously, he's a dude, and I love him to pieces. He's like a brother to me, and we are very close. And I have had issues in the past with like exes who are like, have you guys ever? And I'm like, no, we're really just friends. Like he's just very like overprotective, all the things that like a brother would be like. And, but what has happened is because it's made significant others uncomfortable, I would never say, hey, I'm not going to be your friend. I just say like, hey, we got to put some boundaries in place, right? Like I would see him without my ex-husband, and it became a non-issue once they got to know each other a little bit better. But it wasn't as often as it used to be. It'd be like once every couple of months we'd grab a drink and say hi and whatever. Otherwise we'd be in a big group of people or whatever. But yeah, I think it's still, obviously it's okay. And I think I would almost venture to say it's healthy because it's healthy to get another perspective, as long as you guys have only been friends. Now, if you started out like not as friends, maybe, and
all right, Jen, does he fuck you?
What?
Oh, here's the thing. Sterling is convinced.
Would he bang you if he had options?
Yeah. See.
Oh, I don't think so. Mm-mm.
If he was like,
Sterling doesn't believe you.
I'm like, if. Gave him the green light.
We go to the gas station, and Sterling's like, that cashier wanted to fuck you. I'm like, dude, can we just go somewhere without you thinking that all the time?
Dudes think this.
Yeah. No, not everyone thinks like you. You're sick.
Well, I know that.
There are some normal people in the world.
Not guys.
Not, see? I think it's more of a, like, it's, if you have if I had a best friend and I was really close with that's an intimate relationship. That's why you're good friends. You have a certain level of intimacy with that person. Now, it's a friendship intimacy, but when you introduce somebody else coming along, like if Sterling now comes along and he knows that I have a very close relationship with this other guy, I think it just takes some reasonable reassuring of, hey, this is just a friend, and I'll show you that he is just a friend. I don't think you have to cancel out the relationship. But I think, thinking that your friendship doesn't have to change because I'm my own person, and just because I'm married doesn't blah, blah, blah. I think that's ignorant, and I think you're setting yourself up for failure.
Here's the thing, like, and you've been married before, right, Jenna?
Yes.
I think all friendships change when you get married.
Yes.
I don't think it's just the opposite sex friendships, although I think those those change much more drastically. The way you hang out with everybody kind of changes after you get married, especially once you involve kids and family and everything.
Yeah, it really does ruin your life.
It fucking, yeah, it does. Don't get married, people. So the end of this episode is, Not the Worst Marriage says don't get married.
We're happy, but you probably won't be. So.
You will be.
I give that advice to people all the time. All right, guys. Well, I just want to, from both of us, say, first of all, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. It's been a pleasure. You guys were as great as we would have imagined. Before we wrap up, can you tell everyone again where they can find you online and just sort of what you guys are up to?
Yes. So you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Not the Worst Mom everywhere. And then all of the podcast information or handles are at Not the Worst Marriage. And then Not the Worst
How
Marriage.
about that hot hunk of man meat you got over there? Where do you find him at?
Oh,
well, my personal page is Sturbuck, but I don't really
Sterling,
care.
Okay.
Sterling fucking refuses.
I refuse to play
throw
the
up
game.
a meme every day.
Game.
So
Yeah.
his social media doesn't matter.
No,
Fair.
it doesn't.
You can find Sterling in my occasional tag post on Not the Worst.
Know your place, Sterling. Know your place.
I know my place in the corner then.
But yeah, and then you can find the podcast on, pretty much anywhere.
And
you guys
we
listen.
also have a weekly show on Wednesday nights on Get Vocal.
Yes.
It's a interactive podcast where people get to interact with us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time.
Awesome.
So, and that's a really fun time.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll make sure, guys, anyone who wants to keep up with Sterling and Sarah, and check that out on Get Vocal, check them out at all those channels, and we will make sure to link all of that in the show notes. If you want to find more out about Menage-A-Pod, head over to our Instagram at Menage-A-Podcast, where you will find our link tree that includes links to our Facebook group, website, merch store, and more. Go buy that merch. Do it. Also, a quick thank you to everyone who makes this show happen. Jenna, I love you. You're the best. Guests like Sterling and Sarah, guys, thanks so much. And you for listening to the show. Until next time, share us in your stories and find any other way to tell a friend about Menage-A-Pod. And of course, good luck out there. Bye.
Bye, guys.